Welcome to Local Matters. I'm Elizabeth Shanahan-Jewett. Let's get started. Tucked away in the projection room at Kingston's Reed Community House building are two antique motion picture film projectors from the 1920s. In January, Kingston Recreation Commissioner Andy Davis and local photographer Ed Newt got together to document the town's history with photos. The local scene was there to talk with Andy and Ed about the importance of this small slice of town history.
So we're at the Kingston's Reed Community House, a building that was built almost 100 years ago up in the projection room. It would be neat if we could get these restored. The photographer who is going to take some pictures here in a little while found one on eBay that was restored, and that was one of the things. It's like, wow, could we put this out there? Like, does anybody know more about these projectors? Could we actually find, some are missing some lenses and some little parts. It'd be neat to be able to kind of put one all back together. Don't know if we could get it working because it looks like all the motors and electrical are very old, but yeah, if we could, get them restored, that would be a very neat thing to be able to do. One of the things that we do here at the Reed, we're always looking for to document stuff because we've tried to go back in time, if you will, trying to find pictures of the building. And this is a way for us to kind of document the history a little bit, what we can do so it can go into, town archives and things like that. So Ed's going to take a set of photographs because that's what he does.
It's just documenting these things that have become obviously obsolete. So I saw Andy had posted a picture of these and I just said, I got to photograph them. Look at the detail and the different things about them. As a photographer, I found incredibly fascinating.
He'll give them to us. We can get them into the historical stuff, like in the library, put them on social media, and then show people a little bit of, Kingston's neat little history that's up in this weird little projector booth in this building here.
Think about the history of that. Think about this is where people got their news. They did newsreels, they did shorts, they did documentaries. You came here maybe on a Saturday and you found out what was going on in the world and you watched a movie. I'm under the impression you came in, maybe you paid a nickel and some guy was up here and everyone sat there and you watched a movie. Probably like Charlie Chaplin, Laurel and Hardy, Marx Brothers, that's what I'm thinking, that period, 1924. And you maybe had some popcorn and you sat with your kids. It's an era that I don't think we should forget about it, I guess. Technology is great, but this is cooler.
I think history is always important. There used to be a drop ceiling here in this building in the main hall, and they put in that ceiling in, I think, 1970s at some point in time, and it covered up a beautiful half-moon window that we have up here, the beautiful ceiling. So we're trying to restore it back to its original glory a little bit.
There's so much history in this building. Big band people, different actors played here during the 30s and 40s. And every town has a building like that, and it should be saved and documented. And not that you want to dwell in the past, but I think it's good to acknowledge it.
And this is part of what this building has been for, like I said, almost 100 years. We do movies down at the beach now, with a LCD projector. If we could get one of these working again and crank it up and you show an old, movie without sound here before we show a Disney movie of some sort, that would be really neat. I think it's important just to keep, passing on the history to the next crew that's going to be in here so they know town history with these fascinating machines that are up here that used to project movies for the town back in the 30s and 40s.
I've embraced the technology, but it's also good not to forget how things were done. I come from a black and white darkroom photography background. Prints in the tray, all that stuff. And this is such an interesting process. The light source going through here, this is the shutter. Some poor guy had to do this for probably 90 minutes. He probably had very big forearms, I'm thinking.
We assume these have probably been here since the beginning of the building. We're always looking for pictures of the interior of the building. So if anybody out there has any, we would like to get some of those. But as far as we know, this projection room that we are in housed these from when the building first came about. Once we kind of get this out there and people hear about it more, if they know somebody who maybe saw movies here when they were a young kid, trying to get a little bit of that history, and maybe we can get an oral history of it or something like that. I don't know what we don't know. I'm not sure what we're going to do with all this, but if we can start to document it and get it out there and folks will know about this, I think that's a good start, and then we'll see where we kind of go from there.
On February 20th, the Sunday Arts and Culture series at the Duxbury Free Library will feature musician Kyle Carey for a Celtic Appalachian afternoon. The unique blend of Kyle's beautifully somber Gaelic lyrics fused with the rhythm of Appalachian instruments rose her third studio album to number 9 on Billboard's chart of Northeast Heatseekers. Since the beginning of her career, Kyle has performed her distinct brand of Gaelic Americana at libraries across the country, and now she's coming to Duxbury. This program is free and takes place from 2 to 4 p.m. in the library's Merry Room. Register via the library's website. In this rapidly advancing digital age, it's easy to feel like you're technologically behind, but the Plymouth Public Library is here to help. Computer Skills for Adults is a 3-part workshop offering guidance and instruction on computer skills that can make your life more convenient. The first session on February 12th from 2 to 3 p.m. will focus on how to check out ebooks and audiobooks that are available for free with your library card. The March 12th session's topic will be email, and the third topic covered on April 9th will be instruction on how to search for library materials through Plymouth Public Library's online catalog. To maximize individualized attention, classes are limited to 5 people and will take place in the Literacy Lab using the library's computers. Additional follow-up appointments will be available upon request. To register, visit the library's website. Big Brothers Big Sisters of Cape Cod and the Islands supports the social and emotional development of children by partnering with families of limited resources through one-on-one mentoring relationships. Julie Thompson spoke with Regional Director, Donor, and Big Brother, J.R. Mell, to discuss the many ways this organization is helping children reach their full potential.
We are so pleased today to be joined by J.R. Mell, who's the Regional Director of the Big Brothers Big Sisters of Cape Cod and the Islands. Welcome and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be on and talk a little bit about our mission and the work that we're doing for youth in the greater Plymouth region.
Well, why don't we start right with that? Now, a lot of people have heard of the Big Brother Big Sister program, but don't know a lot of the intricacies of it. So go, you get the floor.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Julie. So from a high-level standpoint, Big Brothers Big Sisters, our mission is to partner with under-resourced families to provide their child with a one-to-one, professionally supportive, caring adult in the form of a big brother or big sister, otherwise known as a mentor. There's a little vernacular with Big Brothers and Big Sisters, where we call our mentors bigs and the mentees in our programs are littles. And once we think we have an appropriate fit for them to be a mentoring pair, we call that a match. So I figured I'd get that right out of the way for your audience right up front.
A big, a little, and a match.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Perfect. So as I had told you a little bit earlier, there used to be a standalone Big Brothers Big Sisters agency in the Plymouth region. Prior to COVID around 2018, they had closed their doors and had decided to separate from the Big Brothers Big Sisters brand, do their own mentoring program. And so right prior to COVID, during COVID, we had been set to launch in the Plymouth area with a huge announcement that we're here to serve the youth of Plymouth in our mentoring program. And as I may have said, COVID kind of took that right off the tracks for us. So we're excited to be back and start this process again.
That's wonderful. Now, your typical littles that comes into your program, whether it's a girl or a boy, what is the typical age and what are their circumstances? Is it a one-parent home or is there any typical circumstance? I'm very interested to hear this.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So we enroll children in our program between that age range of 7 and 12. For girls, we'll sometimes go up to 13 or 14 simply due to the number of female volunteers we have coming through our program. Once they're matched with a mentor, they can stay in our program up until the age of 18. They graduate high school, or in some instances, we do have some kids who are still matched during their first or second year of college. Every case is case by case, to be honest. And as long as they need the support of our agency for their mentoring and friendship, we're happy to keep their match open for as long as it makes sense.
Okay, so they could go on beyond college if the two decided they wanted to keep in touch over the years. That's totally appropriate.
Absolutely. We ask everyone for a minimum of a 1-year commitment. So we ask our parents and guardians, the youth in our program, and the volunteers for a minimum of 1 year. Although to your point, some of our friendships actually last a lifetime.
Right.
We had a really interesting story of a big and a little who the big was 21 when he was matched with his little. His little was 11. They're now in their 80s and 60s and are still connected, which is an amazing story to see that
that's
connection.
crahas How long
Lifetime.
has the Big Brother Big Sister globally been around?
Yeah, so we nationally we were formed in 1901 at the turn of the century, actually in Philadelphia. In New York. And really, we've evolved over the years, and currently there's about 270 affiliates worldwide, and we're one of those 270 affiliates doing work around our region.
Now, what is the ratio of boys to girls that are littles that need a big brother or sister?
That's a great question, and that's part of the reason that I'm on talking to you today. Our program really tends to see its biggest need be the boys being referred to our program. So for every one girl that's referred to our program, about 4 boys are referred to our program.
Wow. 4 to 1 ratio.
It is, and on the other side of things, for every one male volunteer who signs up, we have about 4 to 5 female volunteers who sign up. So we're left with this natural imbalance that we as an agency are working to correct that and meet that natural need that's out there for boys seeking our services.
Right. And do you have a wide net and age range of what boys can be big brothers? I mean, can you be as young as 18 or how?
You can. Absolutely. You can. So the minimum age is 18.
Okay.
And like I said, we ask all of our volunteers to commit to a minimum of a year.
Yep.
And one of the biggest misconceptions that we hear from a lot of our base is that people think they're too old to be a big brother or a big sister. Yeah. It's furthest from the truth. Our oldest volunteer right now is in his 80s. He was matched when he was 81. He's a big brother on Martha's Vineyard. And as long as you have that desire, you have that interest in helping us make a difference in the life of a child, we welcome you to reach out to us.
Right. So when you are a big brother or a big sister and you have a minimum year, I assume people usually last longer than a year in these relationships? Clearly
they do. So
you want consistency.
Yeah, absolutely. So we ask during that year, because if you ask anyone to do something for a year, you're like, wow, that's an overwhelming amount of time. But the reality is it's twice a month for a few hours each time. So every other week, we ask you to see your little. We ask you to do the activities you'd enjoy doing anyways. There's a lot of behind the scenes that go into our program model to ensure that, we are pairing you up with a child with similar likes and interests. So you have something to form that mentoring friendship off of. So even though we ask for that year, we see the majority of our mentoring friendships last 3.5 years in our region. And if you take a look nationally, the average is about 1.5 years. So our program team really does an amazing job to make those mentoring friendships last that 3.5 years.
Right. And when you say you get together twice a month and it's for a couple of hours, is that a scripted? Are there different things that people can choose to do, or is it really whatever the two decide that they want to do together?
Exactly, like you said, Julie. It's whatever you decide to do. So, we need all types of bigs for all types of kids, right? Yeah. Because when you think of the likes and interests that so many people have, we have a lot of people who think, oh, well, the kids who are in the program want to be active and do sports and do all these things. We have some kids like that, absolutely, but we have some kids who are super into theater, who are super into the arts, who every type of activity that you can think of. And so what we really focus our program model around is really building in that that culture of free to low cost activities, as we call them, because we really want that mentoring friendship to be because I get to spend time with my big, not because my big can provide me with things. So it's a very minimal cost program as a volunteer opportunity. We really try to focus on those free to low cost activities.
And a question I had that somebody actually asked me when they found out I was going to interview you is, are any of these kids, do these kids come from troubled homes? I mean, how do you circle that square if you have a kid that is matched but needs further services, not just a big brother or big sister? How do you handle that?
That's a great question. So we find that out in the enrollment process. Every single parent or guardian or referrer who sends us a kid, we do an in-depth interview with that child and the child's guardian to understand the needs, the dynamics within the household. There are a lot of kids who will not find success in our model simply because their needs are too great for our program to meet. In that case, we'll refer them out to other agencies that are better equipped to meet their needs. The other thing that we look at, and there's no one typical kid who fits our program model. The reality is there has to be some type of a need within that program, within our within that family, so that we're able to meet that need. A lot of our kids, though not all of them, come from single parent households. We do have some that come from two-parent households where one of their siblings may have significant needs that takes all the parent and guardian's time, and this is something that they enroll their child in simply for, to have that one-on-one adult attention. I would say that the other thing that we tend to see is a lot of kids right now who are being raised by their grandparents or an aunt or uncle simply due to a lot of substance abuse challenges that we see. And so the parent or guardian at this time isn't able to take care of that child.
Gotcha.
And so they'll turn to us for some additional support and for someone who's in that child's life because they want to be, not because they have to be. And there's so much power in having that mentoring relationship when you choose to make a difference.
Right.
And so
Absolutely.
In a long-winded way, we serve all types of kids from all types of circumstances.
Okay. Do you have multi-language brothers and sisters too?
So we don't at this period in time. We are looking at building we see a huge need from the Portuguese speaking population.
Yes.
And so we are attempting to build in some language access to our program so we are able to serve all types of families.
Okay, there's 1,000 questions I could ask you, but I think it's important that we find out how you get funded. I noticed on your website you have garden parties, bowling, and lots of golf outings.
Yeah.
And obviously you
Absolutely.
get donations. So talk to me about fundraising.
So we raise about just over $700,000 to do the work that we need to do in our community. 96% of our funding comes from individuals and donors who believe in the work of our mission. Very little of our funding comes from the state. We are fortunate enough to get a small line item through Mass Mentoring Partnerships that helps to do the work that we need to do in our communities. That being said, you saw our website. There are a lot of in-person fundraisers you can come to. There is a lot of golf and a large fishing tournament that we do on the Cape. But at the end of the day, the majority of it is from individual donors.
And my last question is, do you ever have a big get-together post-COVID with the littles and the bigs all together in a big party-type atmosphere?
We do. So twice a year, we bring all of our bigs and littles together. At one period in time, we would do a spring family picnic. The good thing about that is that it is outdoors, and we serve at prior to the pandemic, we were serving 404 kids. So we needed a lot of space because if you think there's 404 kids, that's 404 bigs and 404 guardians.
Right.
So we would do something at an outside venue. We were lucky enough to bring one back this fall called Fall at the Farm Day. It was a phenomenal way to get everyone together in person. Prior to COVID, we would also do an in-person holiday party, usually surrounded bowling because it was cold at that type of year, or some large indoor space. We hope to be back to that in the future.
That's wonderful. Well, what can I say? What you're doing is just so wonderful, and it's impacts so many lives. And my very last question is, how many people that were littles end up being big brothers and big sisters?
So that's a great question. And we do, I'd say a handful every year. We get tagged in a social media post. As you can imagine, paper records we were formed in the 70s.
Yeah.
The 80s and 90s was a lot of paper. We don't have that great of records anymore, but I actually just had the pleasure of talking to a former Little from the Cape and Islands who is now the board chair of Big Brothers Big Sisters of Greater Pittsburgh, and has become a Big Brother twice himself.
There you go, full circle.
It's amazing to see those success stories, and to see people who this program has impacted so much of their life that they give back in that way too.
Well, bless you. This is wonderful. We'll put all the information for how to contact you on our screen. Keep up the great work. Look forward to hearing from you in the future when things get a little bit back to normal. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Julie.
Thank you, JR and Julie. For more information on how to become a big brother or big sister, visit capebigs.org. The Spire Center Lobby Series is a unique music experience showcasing local musicians in a relaxed and intimate setting right here in downtown Plymouth. On Thursday, February 17th, beginning at 7:30 p.m., head to the Spire for a song circle led by musician Kim Moberg, who'll be joined by friends Abby Vale and Pratik. Kim is originally from Alaska and has been playing music since she was 14 years old. Her heartfelt vocals and deeply felt lyrics have received worldwide acclaim and airplay, charting on both the International Folk DJ and North American College and Community Radio charts. The songs begin at 7:30 p.m. For tickets, visit spirecenter.org. Meet new people or just get some free and fun time away from home with the Kingston Public Library. On the third Friday of every month, the library hosts an adult game night, complete with board games, card games, video games, trivia, and the perfect game night snack, pizza. The next adult game night will take place on February 18th from 6 to 8 p.m. To register, visit the Kingston Public Library website. Here's Keith Hughes with an all-new Snapshot.
Welcome to Snapshot, where we take a local look at the government stories that you may have missed. The South Shore Legislative Delegation has been working with Plymouth County to advocate for more tests for our towns, and the county was able to purchase a shipment of kits using remaining CARES Act funding. These test kits, each of which includes 2 tests, will be distributed to every town in Plymouth County. Each community will be able to determine how the test kits are distributed to best serve the public health needs of their own residents. Like the rest of the country, Massachusetts is facing a worker and skilled tradesperson shortage. To address this issue, the Baker-Polito administration have highlighted the Career Technical Initiative, aimed at training an additional 20,000 skilled trades workers over the next 4 years. Working with school administrators, employers, and city and town leaders, the initiative aims to provide access to career technical training by utilizing existing resources at vocational high schools. In addition to increasing student enrollment in vocational programs, the plan also provides state funding to help adults pay for classes, reduces licensure barriers to allow more career professionals to become vocational teachers, and encourages businesses to be involved in program development and credentials. The Career Technical Initiative will strengthen the partnerships needed to make the vocational trade programs available to more residents, especially those underrepresented in the fields, and aid economic recovery while empowering a skilled and growing workforce. It's tax time, and the amount of forms required can make filing feel overwhelming. For those who received the advanced child tax credit last year, there's an additional form this year titled Letter 6419. This letter states the amount that taxpayers received up front. Those who received less than the amount that they're eligible for can claim a credit for the difference on this year's taxes, and those who received more than they were eligible for may owe the difference. The IRS began to send this letter out in December of 2021. If you're filing your taxes and have not yet received it, you can visit irs.gov and register for an account through which you can access your information through the Child Tax Credit Portal. The federal government has launched a new website where Americans can order up to 4 free COVID-19 tests per household. Visit covidtests.gov to request yours. There's also a phone line available, 1-800-232-0233, which is available from 8 a.m. to midnight, 7 days a week, and offers help in more than 150 languages. Additionally, free N95 masks from the federal government will soon be arriving at pharmacies and grocery stores, many of whom partnered with the government to distribute the COVID-19 vaccines. Depending on availability, every person will be allowed up to 3 free masks. The program aims to be fully operational by February. Look for signage indicating mask availability at participating stores and pharmacies. Thanks for watching this edition of Snapshot. I'm Keith Hughes, and we'll see you next time.
A vital part of the community, farmers markets give us access to community and fresh, healthy food that supports local farms and small businesses. While they are plentiful in the summertime, winter markets are more rare. You'll be happy to know that starting on February 13th, the Farmers Market at Rye Tavern in Plymouth is teaming up with the Pine Hills Village Green to bring you a winter farmers market. From 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., shop for produce, baked goods, spices, soaps, candles, and more in a great way to see your neighbors and stock up your shelves with healthy and locally sourced items. The second date is scheduled for March 13th. And more dates may be announced. For more information, visit the Farmers Market at Rye Tavern Facebook page. Vision boards are a physical representation of goals and dreams in the form of a collage of images on a poster or corkboard. On February 17th from 6 to 7:30 p.m., join the Pembroke Public Library for their 2022 Vision Board Workshop, presented by teacher Andrea Clifford and artist Christine Sullivan. Together, they will work with you to help transform your thoughtful reflection goals and aspirations for the new year into a physical exploration of color, text, and images. Materials will be provided free of charge, but if there are unique items you'd like to use, feel free to bring them with you. This program is geared for ages 16 and up, and masks are required. Visit the library's website to register. Up next, we revisit the fall of 2019 when Quincy College students, along with Professor Dr. Laurel Kornheiser, visited with inmates of the Plymouth County Correctional Facility for a workshop on the ways music lyrics can be poetic. After the meeting, students gathered at the Plymouth Public Library to share the inmates' original music-inspired poetry in a public event. The local scene was there.
Have you ever imagined you could trust at first sight? I mean, what could I say? The most inexplicable feels right. My long-lost friend, it feels like
you carry a heavy weight load. You lift these emotional and physical burdens with all your strength. In my eyes, that's what separates the world from you. I thank you for entering my life at my highs and remaining there when I've not been at my best.
I was weak when you were strong. You were right when I was wrong. The tears in your eyes made me realize, Mama, I apologize.
Plymouth Public Library, Quincy College, and Plymouth County Sheriff's Department has been collaborating together over the last couple of years to bring great literature to the inmates in the prison and then come over here to the library.
So this is always just an amazing collaboration, and today was no exception. Once again, the students were fantastic. They are always going in there nervous, not knowing what to expect. They're almost afraid even. They don't know who these people are that they're going to be encountering. And then I think they are always so surprised, and they walk away saying that, you know, they think it's a shame that these really smart, articulate, intelligent men are where they are.
I was a little anxious at first. I'd never been to a prison before.
I wasn't expecting much, but the prisoners there are actually very intelligent, and they had a lot to say.
It's really great and interesting to see how the inmates can relate to some of the issues that we struggle with as human beings and just put it into poetry. And it's just, every time I walk away, I'm just blown away in how much talent these guys have.
A couple of them had them memorized, and like they're very real, like they were very genuine, very raw. And it like kind of hits you like more than you would think. Like it was very eye-opening and crazy to like see how they really felt and like what they were really thinking, and it was very enjoyable. I kind of liked it.
Go against all odds when the times are hard. Please just pray for me. Ready to die any moment if it means my seeds could live free. Forgive me, but if I die, don't forget me. Ready to die for my own sins if it brings me peace. Pray for me. A slave to my work, my grave is the earth. It's nothing for me to go all out for those who mean everything to me. Just please pray for me.
It rose to number 5 on the adult contemporary Billboard chart. And this song came to mind because I had heard you studied Tangled Up in Blue by Dylan, which happens to be one of my favorite songs.
She lit a burner on the stove and offered me a pipe. I thought you'd never say hello, she said. You look like the silent type. Then she opened up a book of poems and handed it to me, written by an Italian poet from the 13th century. And every one of them words rang true and glowed like burning coal, poured off of every page like it was written in my soul, from me to you, tangled up in blue.
I think this collaboration is so great because students and inmates both get so much out of it. Inmates get to see people who they never get to see otherwise, and they get to share some of their deepest, darkest things with them that they wouldn't feel comfortable sharing with their other inmates. And I think that just takes a huge load off their shoulders, and I think that makes them realize I can talk about my feelings, I can talk about things that are important to me and not worry about being judged for it.
You don't often get to see the way someone in that situation is thinking or what it's like for them, but in order to hear their poetry and lyrics, it's almost like a way for them to be free themselves. It was also like therapeutic for everyone involved. It was amazing.
Poems that he's converted into songs from Elizabeth Bishop, this one, but also Emily Dickinson, Anne Sexton.
The art of losing isn't too hard to master. So many things seem filled with intent to be lost.
That literature brings people together, that we can come from different backgrounds, different neighborhoods, different experiences, and yet through talking about poetry, whether it was written 200 years ago or yesterday, we still find things in common and things that get us excited talking about human experiences.
For obvious reasons, this wonderful program of communication and mutual understanding couldn't happen in 2020 or 2021. But when it returns, the local scene will be there. Thank you to Quincy College's students, Professor Kornheiser, and the poets from Plymouth County Correctional Facility for sharing your perspective and creative expression. And thank you for watching this week's episode of Local Matters. Visit the local scene on social media or our website at pactv.org/thelocalscene for more of what's good and good to know in our area. From all of us at PACTV, have a safe and happy week. We will see you next time. Thank you for watching. We are grateful for your attention. If you like what you saw, please like and subscribe to the local scene here and share everywhere. Thank you, friends.